to the Mountainside Podcast. I am your host, Bobby Marshall, and you are listening to episode 2. My guest today is Jay Steinberg. He is a high-altitude endurance athlete, ultra-marathon runner, avid mountain biker, and just an all-around mountain person. This guy skis, pretty much does it all, and is a dad on top of all of that. I really enjoyed my conversation with him. We had a great time. We drank a little bit of whiskey, and it got interesting for a minute. Hey, Jay, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. How are you? I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you, man. Super stoked. This is episode 2. I don't know if you listened to episode 1 at all.
I did. I was very impressed.
Yeah, we're hitting the ground running. We did really good on it. And I can't believe that it happened this quick, you know, and the timing with the pandemic and all that, it's kind of fell into our favor.
Yeah, it's got to be nice getting out of the gates and just running right away.
Oh, dude, so crazy. Well, cheers, man. I know we can't do it cup to cup,
cheers.
But, you know.
Well, we're at least 6 feet away here.
Yeah,
so we're good.
A full 6 feet away. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do? Where are you from?
I grew up in the Midwest, was born in Wisconsin, grew up in Northwest Indiana, lived there all the way through high school and came to Colorado for college, went to Fort Lewis College, spent some time in Winter Park, and since the first time I came to the mountains, I've just been in love with them.
So you are an ultra marathon runner, and that's the main reason why I brought you on the show, because I'm impressed. Out of all my friends that I know, you're like the most super athlete, dude.
I don't know if I go quite super athlete, but yeah, my running kind of got out of control. I always tell everybody that I was tricked by my wife, then my girlfriend, into running a half marathon almost 16 years ago. And it's been a downhill slide ever since. And, the more I ran, the longer I ran. And you start hearing these stories of big adventures and big long races in the mountains. And I was just captivated by it.
Well, 5 miles is a long run to me. And you're doing 100-milers?
Everybody has their own ultra marathon. But yeah, I really like the ultra marathon distance, so 100-milers are probably my favorite.
And how many of those are you doing a year now?
I usually just do one. With a wife and kids at home and corporate job. If I get one in, that's a pretty good year.
You do one a year, but to be clear, the marathons that you're running, they're at altitude.
Yeah, I've lined up for 4 100s, and they've all been mountain 100s. So they at least start at 7,000 feet. Leadville 100 starts at 10,000 feet above sea level, and that's about the altitude you run besides the low point, which is maybe 9,600 feet.
God, so what are you doing to train leading up to this? Are you going on like 30-mile runs every day, or are you running a marathon every day? Or
the key to training for an ultra marathon is back-to-back long runs. That's your bread and butter. So it could be back-to-back 20s on the weekend, and all that's doing is accumulating that fatigue to teach your body how to run when you're tired.
And are you doing that daily or?
No, today was a rest day. Yesterday I ran 9 miles. I got a mountain bike ride in the afternoon. I don't have the luxury to run super high miles. So a big week for me will be 70 miles in a week.
So then when you go into this thing, you're just full on, or do you ramp it up as you progressively get closer to the marathon? Do you start?
I'll ramp it up. Usually after a race, you need a little bit of recovery time. So I'll get recovered, and then over the winter, a lot of times I will just kind of keep my fitness. Here in the mountains, we've got 6 inches, 12 inches of snow. It's icy. It's So we'll do some shorter runs of maybe 2 hours on the weekends. And then once you get your race schedule ready for the following years, when you really start to ramp up your training.
And what's the mindset, or what's the driving force for you running 100-mile ultra marathons? Is it just something that's a personal goal, or is it a competitive thing with other people?
It's competitive with myself. And I've asked myself that a lot. And a lot of times in the middle of the night, in the middle of the mountains, when it's dark, cold, and you've been running for 16 hours, you ask yourself exactly why I'm doing this. And I love the training aspect. I'm always training with friends. So we're training on the trails here in the mountains. We're laughing, we're having a good time. It doesn't matter if it's hot or if it's cold. That's kind of my socialization time. And I just love the adventure of being out with friends. When it comes down to why I like to run so far, people say that 100 miles is you run the whole course of a life of emotions in that day. And for me, the emotions, it's when I look back at my life, all the times that you've given up, even if nobody else knew you gave up, you gave up. And when it's 2 a.m. and it's dark and it's cold, that's all you want to do is quit.
I'd probably quit at about mile 3. I'd be walking.
Yeah, I'm lucky to not quit in the starting corral sometimes. But it's the strength that you feel. It's all the times where you felt like you weren't good enough, where other people made you not feel good enough. That time you were cut from the team, it all goes away when you're crossing that finish line. And all of the negative stuff that's happened in your life, I feed on that in a race, and that's what gives me strength to push through when it gets rough, and it's going to get rough.
The driving force for a lot of people is always negative things that have happened to them in their life, and that's been a big impact and a big influence in my life that's drove me to do things that I wanted to do. I think people need to look at negative situations sometimes as a learning experience more than like, oh shit, my life sucks. This is so horrible. I can't believe this happened to me. All those things that run through your head, and be like, well, fuck, it happened. What do I do now?
Yeah, I feel like it's everything in life. It's all about your mindset. When I look back at my life and I look at literally the worst things that could happen in your life, whether it be 30 years later, whether it be 10 years later, it was always the best thing. And when you go into with the mindset of, well, boy, this is crappy, but man, all the other bad stuff has really turned out well. I think this is going to turn out well too. And when you go in with that mindset, just knowing that 20/20 vision of hindsight, it changes your mindset and your mentality, and it helps you really overcome adversity.
So, at some point while you're running this, whether you're 20 miles in, 50, 70, at some point there's got to be a little voice in the back of your head, or I know there is on me when I'm doing a 3-mile run, going, just walk, this sucks, this is horrible, that sort of thing. Does that cross your mind, and do you just power through, or does that never even cross your mind?
It's always crossing your mind. It can be a training run. Your hands get cold. It's icy on the trails. If we always wait for things to be perfect, we're never going to go, right?
100%, yeah.
So yeah, that happens, and I've quit races before, and the next morning you wake up and you're like, yeah, it wasn't that bad. I probably could have kept going. And after you go through a drop like that, you can use that as fuel that next time where you're in a dark place, because you know what that next morning felt like.
What do you do for diet? Do you eat a lot of meat, a lot of wild game? Are you a red meat guy? Or
I eat very little wild game. I eat a lot of red meat, and a lot of vegetables. Stay away from processed foods. The higher the fat, the better, because it keeps me full. But
so are you a keto guy, or?
I'm not keto, because keto you can't have enough vegetables.
Right.
That's where I struggle with keto. I love having a salad for lunch every day. So I'd say I'm low carb, but I'm definitely not keto because I think the vegetables each day would probably push me over. I do have a protein shake every morning, but other than that, just eat real food.
What other supplements are you taking? Are you taking anything that's
I take
crazy out of the norm, or anything for energy or hydration?
Nah, I take a multivitamin just because I think it's a cheap insurance policy, and a krill oil, and that's about it. Other than that, just eat clean.
Do you do anything special, like on the days that you're going on runs? Do you try to eat like an hour before you go, or are you doing anything?
I do a lot of depletion runs, so I want to teach my body how to burn fat. So I'll drink a cup of coffee and go for a run. As it gets closer,
can you get into a little bit more detail on that? Because I don't really know what that is, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners right now probably don't know.
So carbohydrates are your preferred source of fuel. That they're easy to burn. You can get a lot of energy out of them. Fat, it doesn't matter how thin you are, you've got a lot of fat for your body to burn as energy. And I feel like by going out without any food in my system, without any carbohydrates, my body is forced to find a different energy source. So I can switch on that fat-burning metabolism that's just a good, clean, slow-burning fuel source. And my body just becomes more efficient that way.
So a day leading up to the race, are you doing high fat content, or are you trying to eat a lot of fats then? Or?
No, I'll just eat normal. Protein shake for breakfast, salad for lunch.
Just your normal regimen.
Yeah, my salad might have pepperoni on it and blue cheese, or some steak and blue cheese dressing. Eat a dinner. For dinner I might have a burger without a bun, and maybe have some French fries with it and get all crazy. But I do change as I get closer to the race. I don't feel like you'd want to eat a ton of fat in a race. Bacon is phenomenal in a race.
Really?
If you run ultras, because you get a lot of bacon and breakfast sausage and that kind of stuff. But when you're out and you're carrying something, you will have to eat some sugar.
Yeah. So what do you carry with you when you're carrying your own water? I'm sure that there's water filling stations, right, along the trail.
I carry a hydration pack that's got a bladder in it. I usually up front I have a bottle with a hydration drink in it. So usually like a high electrolyte Tailwind product.
Have you ever used this stuff?
I have.
Were you sponsored by them, or?
It was an ambassador.
Okay.
I get discounts. They I think now they're having more calorie drinks because I'm looking for some calories out of a drink like that. And I think in their early days they were just doing electrolyte drinks, so it wasn't there was no sugar in it.
Yeah. I like these because some of them have caffeine, and it just gives you that little extra kick.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to caffeine for sure.
100%. So right now, I'm trying to teach my body to be able to take in those carbohydrates during a run. So on a training run now, I'll do an electrolyte calorie drink that has sugar in it, and then some chews or something like that, or a gel here and there.
So are you eating on the run, like whatever you can squeeze in your mouth? Or
whatever you can squeeze or chew, or whatever you can get down. That's why I think the depletion runs are important, because it teaches your body and your metabolism to be super flexible. So it doesn't matter what it gets, it can burn it as fuel.
And are you stopping at any point? Like, hey, I'm going to stop for 5 minutes. Or are you running the entire 16 hours?
No, you'll stop. Usually going into the night, I'll take a little bit longer stop. Usually because it's in the mountains and you're at altitude, it's going to get cold. And at that point, you're not moving as fast either. So I usually change clothes, get into something warmer, change socks, maybe change shoes. That might be a 20-minute stop.
In 100 miles, what's your average mile at that point?
Yeah, it just depends because of the topography. Yeah, I always joke that I like to run ultras because I get to hike through it. So you come to a big climb and you're going to hike up it, and you might be, 16, 17, 18, 20-minute miles. And then you could get to the flats and you could be, running 8-minute or 9-minute miles. I think I'd probably end up averaging, I've never broken it down.
Do you use any sort of app or anything to keep track of that, or like a heart rate monitor or anything, just to see what's going on with your body during it?
Yeah, I carry a GPS watch. I upload all my runs. Yeah. Everybody can see all of my runs.
Yeah, but you don't post them like
I don't post them to Facebook or Instagram or anything.
It must have been the one that I was looking at. It was like 99 miles. I was like, holy shit. 99 miles, and then it was like a 9-minute average. So
yeah, no, there's some amazing people out there,
right?
But yeah, I upload all my runs to Strava just so all my buddies can give me kudos and see that I did some. Because if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen.
Well, I mean, it's cool if you're doing it there, but if you're the guy that's transferring it to Facebook and to Instagram and all that sort of stuff, like I get it. If you've hit a milestone or a personal goal or something like that, kudos, and for anybody getting out there, I think it's awesome that they do that. But there are some people that post like, oh, I went for a 2-mile run this morning.
Yes. Yeah. If it's your first mile that you've ever run,
which
awesome.
Is something that I would post, but I'm fucking embarrassed about that shit.
That's why I run in the dark.
Right. What are you doing different now because of this whole COVID-19 thing and some of the recent activities that you've done, like maybe sporting events or sporting activities, but has that impacted your regiment at all?
It has. I was signed up for a race for May 9th and got an email this week from the race that they were postponing. So they gave you a bunch of different options as to what to do. I ended up taking a deferment to 2021. And that was a 50-mile race up in Fort Collins. So roll with the punches. And
how many regular marathons do you do a year? Because I know you're a run coach too, right? Like you coach people how to run.
I'm a certified run coach. I'd say maybe I do a marathon or a 50K a year. I don't race a whole lot. I was signed up for this 50-miler as a test run going into the 100.
So you'll do some smaller races building up to the big race.
Gives you a good time to test your nutrition strategy, test getting in and out of aid stations. Maybe you want to try a new piece of gear. It's tough to go out for an unsupported 50-mile race.
And when you say supported, like what kind of support do you have? Like you have an actual team of guys that are like at certain checkpoints for you?
I've got the all-star group of guys.
Yeah.
Now, in the middle of the night, they may have a fire pit going, and they may be drinking whiskey in the middle of the night. But they're an awesome set of...
maybe I'll come out and be
yeah,
the guy.
Absolutely.
Shit, I can handle that.
The more the merrier.
Right
but yeah, I've got, I think at Leadville last year, I think I had 13 or 14 people total. And
really?
I think I had 6 buddies out all night long.
So they're just set up on different parts of the trail by themselves, or is it a group normally?
There's different areas where you can be crewed. You have to be crewed within that area. So yeah, you come in and.
So they rub your feet, or what do they do?
I had I've had a buddy of mine. Wash my feet because he thought I had too much dirt on my feet to put fresh socks back on. So. He washed my feet down with baby wipes.
That's a good fucking friend.
That's
right
a good
there.
friend.
You want to give him a shout out or what?
Yeah, that's Andy Wilson.
All right.
He may not know what rhabdo is, but boy, he's good with he's good with baby wipe on your feet.
What's the recovery like? Are you just murdered at the end of it? I mean, are your legs toast? Are you like on the couch for 3 days, or what's the turnaround time?
Usually, muscle wise, I'm okay. I think after Leadville last year, 2 days later, I did a full squat in the middle of the office because people asked me how my legs felt, and they were fine. My feet were tore up. I struggle with my feet. My feet will swell real bad. Leadville last year, I had 2.5-inch diameter blisters right underneath the front of my feet. So you'll have things like that, but muscle wise, it's not all that bad.
So what do you do to help cut down on that? Is there any sort of ointments, or are you carrying like 9 pairs of socks, or what? What do you carry in your bag normally, or what all goes into your?
I'll change
kit?
socks. I'll do some lube on my feet. Other than that, I don't worry much about
Just
it.
go for it.
I probably should. I've been rethinking after the blisters that I had in Leadville last year.
Yeah.
Really rethinking how I handle some of those things.
Do you have to worry about infection or anything like that, like running that long, or are you not susceptible to it until afterwards?
Yeah, I think anything like that. Like you're not going to get trench foot or anything like that
Right.
while you're out there. I think if you had open blisters or something afterwards, you just keep them clean.
And then what do the races do? Do they have EMT standing by? Are they checking anybody? Are they?
Yeah, and they'll come
Are
up
they
and
keeping
talk
track?
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Leadville last year, I was sitting in a chair trying to eat soup, and my stomach was horrible. And the EMT came up, and she started talking to me, asking me how I was doing, how I was feeling. I'm trying to put on my best face, right? And
So will they DQ you? Like
They
if
can.
they think that you're
Yeah.
not doing okay, they're
Yeah.
like, all right, you're done.
yeah, they can pull you.
Really?
And she's like, all right, well, good luck on the rest of your race. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get out of here. I'm starting to get cold. And I stood up and puked everywhere. And she just
On
looked
her?
at the
Okay.
opposite direction. She just looked at me and shook her head, and I took off running.
Right. And are they taking your vitals? Are they doing like
Some
blood
races
pressure and that sort of thing?
Yeah, some races
Okay.
will weigh you. They'll pull you if you gain too much weight or if you lose too much weight.
Really? Do you have to sign any sort of like crazy waivers before the race or anything like
Yeah,
that? Or is
there's-
it? Yeah.
Your standard liability
Okay.
waiver.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, at least they're keeping track of it, because I feel like some people might not know what they're getting into. And do you know what the attrition rate is? Like how many people quit and how many people actually finish that were signed up for it?
It depends on the race.
Yeah.
A lot of races have pretty high qualification standards. So you've got to have run another 100, or you've had to run a 50 or 100K.
So you can't just go in cold turkey. Like I couldn't sign up for a 100-mile race right
There's
now
r-
without.
No.
Okay.
No, there's races.
I wouldn't.
It's because you're smart. There's races that I've entered 6 years in a row and can't get drawn in the lottery, and I'm qualifying year after year trying to get into them. Actually, not six times, but they have tough qualification standards, and then you've got to be able to get drawn in the lottery just to be able to
So
run
there's
the
a
race.
lottery situation to
Yeah,
it too.
there's too
huh?
many people to run it because
Really?
it's all tied to National Forest permits.
Okay.
So, the National Forest Service or BLM or, whoever the governing body over that property is, they set how many people you can have out, and that's what the permit's good for.
And do they start you all at the same time? Like, are you guys all like fighting for trail position, or is it based on time?
They'll pretty much all start at the same time.
Really?
And everybody lines up knowing where they,
So have you
where they're
gotten into
supposed to
any
be.
shoving matches or anything?
No.
Like bumping elbows, taking somebody out, or what?
Now I want to make friends early in the race, so I have somebody to talk to for the
Right.
first, 8 or 10 hours.
And then do you have a run buddy that goes with you or anything like that? Or do you have guys that you're running the race with, like almost as a team, or is it it's just you and your support?
So it depends on the race, but normally at halfway you can have a pacer. And they're more or less there just to keep you safe.
Okay.
You're going.
So they're not actually entered in the race. They're just running as a pacer. Can you explain that? Is that they're running next to you to help you keep your pace? Is that?
So they're running with you, not necessarily to keep your pace. It's normally going into the night. So you're trying to stay on trail. It's pitch black. You're in the middle of the mountains.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon to hallucinate when you've been running for that long,
Sure.
and it's dark and you're in the middle of the woods. They can help you keep on pace, they can keep you on trail. Especially you start to get kind of out of it, and you're looking for ribbons or markers in the middle of the national forest. So they're there to kind of help keep you safe and keep you going. Some races they can carry stuff for you, some they can't. That's called muling. The big one for my pacer is remind me to eat and drink.
Yeah, I bet. That's cool that you have that good a support and a team, guys that'll do that,
And you wouldn't think that, it's a solo sport, right?
Right.
It's not a team sport, but it really is. And
You need that.
You're not gonna finish that race without them.
Sure.
My hat's off to the people that can run 100 miles and not have any support, and they're out there.
What do you get if you complete it? Like, is there? I mean, obviously you get some sort of medal or something, some sort of keepsake.
Yeah, you get.
But is there any money involved? Like, if you're the first guy across the finish line, what can you expect?
Oh, if you're the fast guys, you can get a little bit of money. I think Run Rabbit Run's the big one up in Steamboat.
But they're not doing it as like a full-time career.
A lot of people are.
Really?
A lot of people are, yeah, between sponsorships and, people are making a living out of it. Yeah, when you're 25 years old, you can do that, right?
Right.
The big thing in ultra running is the belt buckle. So 100 miles,
Okay.
You run 100 miles.
Like a cowboy belt buckle? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. They're my prized possessions.
Do you wear them ever? Or? I don't think I've ever seen you wear one.
I will wear...
Like tucked in shirt and everything?
Well, you've got to tuck your shirt in regardless,
Right?
right? Because you got to
If
show
not,
it
it's
off a
gonna
little
hurt.
bit.
Right.
Well, and I tell everybody, like, hey, it's cold. But really, I'm tucking my shirt in behind it just so everybody can see my belt buckle. I usually wear them to races.
Yeah.
The day before when you're going to the, packet pickup and you're going to the mandatory pre-race meeting. I might wear it a couple other times a year, but...
When you're doing this 100-mile marathon, which one are you signed up for? Have you signed up for one this year?
This year I'm signed up for Bighorn 100 up in Dayton, Wyoming.
Is that outside of like Grand Teton area? Or
It would be east of there.
Okay.
So it's just north of Sheridan. So the Bighorn Mountains is a really, really beautiful area. I think the first time I was in the Bighorns, I was 16 years old. Did a backpacking trip up there. Just a gorgeous area. So I'm really excited and hoping the race is going to go off this year.
I had a great time. I went last fall just to do a little photography trip when the elk rut was going on, and man, it's so cool. It had been probably at least 10 years since I had been to Grand Tetons, and if you spend that much time away from it, you kind of forget what that mountain range is like and that whole area, and just that, stretch of the Rocky Mountains is so cool.
And you were lucky here in Colorado, but it's also... It's not as remote as Wyoming. Wyoming is a rugged and remote place.
It's pretty desolate, man.
It is. It is.
The wind sucks.
I think on the website there's quite the list of wildlife that you may encounter on the trail.
Oh, I bet. Are grizzlies a concern, or?
Yeah, I don't know if there's grizzlies in that area.
Uh-huh.
I think wildlife is always a concern. Whether it be
bison, moose.
Yeah,
moose
a mama black
as
bear.
shit. Yeah.
A mountain lion.
So when is this exactly? What time of year?
June 19th.
Okay, so they're still going to have babies, and
yeah.
Are they talking about canceling it with the whole COVID?
They're monitoring the situation at this point. Yeah.
Nobody really knows, huh? Until we get past this next little wave of.
Yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah,
so just keep training.
So what are you doing now that we're in this situation? What are you doing to train? Are you keeping the same regiment because you're on trails by yourself most of the time, or what's the?
Keeping the same regiment.
Like?
Keeping the same regiment. I wake up early. I wake up 4:30 every morning. Most days I'm on the trail at 5. So I feel like the trails that are right out my back door are. It may be public property and it may be a park, but in the morning I feel like it's mine. It's very rare to ever run into anybody.
I wonder sometimes, like I've seen on your Facebook posts a few times after it snowed, you're out running and you'll take a picture of like a lion track. Have you ever encountered a lion on a run, like where you've had to like stand your ground? And
I've never run across a lion on a run. A lot of lion tracks. In the wintertime, it's pretty easy to spot them when there's fresh snow.
Yeah, that's about the only time you can really spot them is after fresh snow. I mean, me growing up in the mountains my entire life, I would think I was 16 when I saw the first lion, and I was on a school bus, and it was in the middle of a field. And other than that, I mean, I pretty much lived outside. We didn't have iPads. We didn't have iPhones. We didn't have TV. You know, if we had an antenna, you might get one crappy channel, and there was nothing ever good on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I spent a lot of time, and I saw a lot of tracks. And I actually had one stalk me one time as a kid. It was a snow day from school, and I went out hiking. I was going to go finish building my fort or whatever I was doing out there. Probably something I shouldn't have been doing. And I got out, and it was just snowing. You know that white, just heavy, big flakes.
Big spring snow.
Yeah, where it sticks to your eyelashes,
Yep.
and you have trouble seeing. You can't really make out where you're at. So I got a little bit scared. I was like, crap, I'm by myself because my buddy couldn't go because his mom wouldn't let him go out and play, and I'm in knee-deep snow. And I'm like, I better just turn around because the way that I was walking and the snow coming into my eyes, I couldn't see anything. So I started following my tracks back, and I maybe made it 50 yards or something. When I got to my tracks, there were lion tracks there.
Wow.
And I don't know, they kind of went off to the side, and I never saw them again, but... You know, that's scary.
You get those times when you're out and you just get this eerie feeling. You know, anytime you're out, there could be a cat watching you, and when you get that eerie feeling, it's that sixth sense of something's going on. They're a magnificent animal.
Oh, they're incredible.
Yeah, you could see them in your vehicle, and they're awe-inspiring.
My brother actually hit one. He lives up in Bailey. And was coming down 285, and he works at like 4 a.m. or something, and he hit one in his truck, and he said after he hit it, or as he was hitting it, I can't remember, I'd have to ask him, but he said the thing jumped literally like 30 feet, like across the double-lane highway, basically straight into his truck, or when he hit it, it did that, you know. It's pretty crazy. But, I mean, you think how agile a house cat is, and what do they weigh, like 8 pounds or something?
Right. Let alone 200 pounds for a big
200
cat.
pounds and probably twice the attitude because it's wild, you know.
Yeah.
But you just think about what a house cat can do to you, you know. It would suck to have a mountain lion on your back.
Yeah, that's something when you're out running you think about a lot, and then you'll see pictures of them, and I want nothing to do with them.
Yeah. Do you carry anything to just in case, like a fixed blade knife, or do you have? I don't know if bear spray would deter a lion. I've never.
I don't know if it would. I do carry a knife. It's not a fixed blade knife. I think it's a good thing to have in your pack regardless. So I carry it. I carry it up front. I have been on runs and been a little bored and practiced getting it out, while I'm running. I don't know if it would ever do any good. The knife is probably better for other emergency situations than fighting off a cat. You don't want to be the
Swiss Army guy that's like, oh, shit, that's the wrong blade. Yeah. Oh, damn it. Yeah.
That's a wine bottle opener. Can't do that.
Right. Not in that situation. And, I mean, you're not going to know, man. Those things are so stealth. That's the point I was trying to make earlier is, like, I spent my entire childhood in the woods, like, and we knew these things were around. Like, we lost dogs and cats, and maybe some of it was to coyotes or whatever, but I never saw one in the wild until I was on a bus, and it was like easily 200 yards away.
And that would be my fear is you're running down a trail and all of a sudden it's on your back. It comes out of the tree that you just passed. And
man, crazy. We had 3 lion attacks here last year, I think, right? I think that there was that trail runner. Same sort of situation you were in.
Yeah, up by Fort Collins.
And he actually choked it to death, right?
Yep.
I got to get that guy on the show.
Yeah, you should.
I want to hear that story.
You should.
But yeah, I guess it was a young lion, but still, it doesn't matter. Like we were just saying a minute ago, think about what a house cat can do to you, If I remember correctly, because I was pretty intrigued by it, he pinned the back legs because that's a bad situation to be in. Hind legs kicking at your stomach, you don't want to get ripped up. So somehow he was able to pin the back legs, and then I guess he choked it out. I don't know the whole story. I'd love to hear it from him firsthand.
I heard he choked it out, but I don't know. I wouldn't put any value in that statement.
It's pretty crazy. That's a cool story. Kill a mountain lion with your bare hands.
I bet his DMs and Instagram were getting blown up by females the next day.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And then I think there was 2 kids attacked up by my brother's house up in Bailey.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and they were out just like playing in their yard. They were in their yard, and it was an adolescent lion again. And I don't know if it attacked both kids, but I know the dad went out and like fought it off, luckily.
Wasn't there a kid out by Aspen that got attacked?
I don't know. I don't know. Is there any way you can look that up, Jeremy, and just see what, like, mountain lion attacks in Colorado or something? I know that there was one this year, and they actually have video footage of it. This is just coming back to me. And it was like in a trailer park or something, or an RV park.
That was like the police officer got attacked by
it. And they got it on video, and they're like fighting it off. And I think that they actually showed it getting shot on video too. But that was kind of crazy. Yeah, look at that thing, man.
That would ruin your day.
Yeah, that was Travis Kaufman. He killed the lion. What a weird thing to have in the built in the story. Travis Kaufman killed a lion while being attacked.
That's crazy. And I think like the average male is like 180 pounds, 160 to 180 pounds. It's a big animal.
Yeah, there was definitely 3 attacks.
See if you can find that video of the. I think it was a female officer like fighting the lion off, or there was a group of people. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So you just have like a folding knife that basically you would open that up and go for it, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the thought process.
Right. If you have time to open it.
I think it'd probably be better just to grab a rock off the side of the trail if you have the opportunity.
Well, that's what they say. If you're getting attacked, you're supposed to fight back. As where if you're getting attacked by a bear, you're supposed to play dead. Because a bear will just hold you down and rip your ass apart. A lion, you actually might have a chance, you know? Oh, yeah, here it is. Damn.
Right for the back of the neck.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming back to me. They said, too, that she, like, luckily she put her arm up. Because if not, it would have been her neck. But it bit her in the forearm but it was going right for her neck. You know, that's just the instincts.
That's her instinct is go for the neck.
And that's a small cat. I think that was only, I mean, look at how big it is, like the stride, and they're really long and like, you know, it's a pretty lean animal.
Yeah, that's back to that video.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I saw one.
I think that was only like a 60 or an 80-pound cat, and that's the size of her, you know, height-wise, if it was standing on its hind legs. So the Bighorn Run, what's the terrain like? Is it rocky trails, or are you guys running on a nice graded trail like, you know, we have in some of the Forest Service parks? Or
I think it'll be a rocky trail. There'll be some double track in it. There'll be, you know, easier running, but yeah, there'll be a lot of rocky single track.
I mean, you don't ever have to get to the point where it's like, oh shit, I almost need to go to my hands to get up this steep part of the trail or anything like that.
Usually not in a race. No,
Yeah.
You know, you look at Leadville 100 goes up and over Hope Pass, but it's still not that steep.
And what's the highest altitude of that pass?
I want to say 12.6, somewhere in that ballpark.
So, I mean, do you feel it? You feel yourself slow down and all that once you get to that altitude, or you just trained that much at a high altitude that it's not a problem?
You still feel it, but you can definitely train for it. It's training for a race like Leadville, you're going to spend a lot of time at altitude that summer.
Is there anything special that you do like beforehand? Are you taking any sort of like hydration pills or iodine or any of that sort of stuff? Just
Nothing special. My
Yeah.
my only requirement is I have to drink a beer the night before the race because it's good luck. Just one beer. Can't
Yeah.
drink two, but you have to have one.
That's the hard part, is having just one.
That is the tough part.
What will your day be like the day of the race? Like, what time are you waking up, hitting the trail, or what time does the gun go off, or whatever, however they start the race, and what time do you finish?
Yeah, I probably should have been prepared for that. I don't like getting into the details of a race too early because then it just gets in my head and I start
Right.
to think about it too much.
Well, we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah,
We
most
can
most
skip it.
races start bright and early in the morning. I don't get too wrapped up into, pre-race. I have to do this. I have to do that. Except I have to drink coffee. I'll try and get some calories in. I'll try and eat a little bit. A lot of it's just trying to calm those nerves. Trying to conserve energy.
And when you're done with the race, another one of your posts that I saw, and Jeremy, if you can find this picture, it's you holding your son, and you're just, I don't want to say you're an emotional wreck, but you're emotional probably just because you just ran 100 freaking miles and now you're seeing your family, right?
Yeah, that race there, that was the end of my first 100. That was Run Rabbit Run in 2016. A great race. It's up in Steamboat. It is remote. You think, oh, it's Steamboat. It's a tourist town. All night long, you're up high. It's cold, and there's no crew access for probably the last 40 miles of the race. That year was probably the last 40 miles. So I saw none of my crew. I didn't see my family. And your crew and your family can ride the gondola up and catch you for like the last 4 or 5 miles. You can have as many pacers as you want. And that was right as I saw them. And I think that's probably the most special part of running 100s. I have 2 kids, and to see their emotions and to see how it's impacted them in their lives. And, there's so many funny stories. We had our neighbors were over, and I had run a race, and it was a 50K last spring. And I walked in the door, and the little girl from next door was over, and I hear her say to my daughter, "Why is your dad back already? I heard he had a race." She goes, "Yeah, he's back." She goes, "His race only lasted 1 day?" She thought all my races were at least 24 hours long.
I don't know if I could run 100 miles in a week at altitude.
Right. But to see my son and my daughter and my wife and the support that they give me, and to know that they're seeing the work ethic and the drive that goes into it, and hoping that carries through to their lives, and it's something that they can use to be successful in whatever they choose to take on.
What a great example to set for them, I mean, there's nothing better in my mind than showing your kids how to do something. It's one thing to talk about it or tell them what to do, but to actually show them, like, hey, I can do this. This means that you can do it too.
And when you look at something like running 100 miles, 20 years ago, if you would have said, hey, you'll be running 100 milers one day, I would have told you that you were crazy. And I've finished it. I know I can do it, but there's some times where I think about it, and it's such a huge undertaking. Even though I've done it, it doesn't seem like you should be able to run that far.
Yeah. Well, I know for a fact that I probably wouldn't make it. I probably wouldn't even try it. I hate running, if you couldn't tell. I actually went for a run this morning, man. What a nice day it was.
It was gorgeous.
Beautiful out. It's like the perfect for me when we're coming into spring and it's 65 and you have that little bit of humidity in the air, I don't know if you noticed on the way over here, it was thundering tonight.
Yeah, there's thunder. You could definitely feel the
some
moisture.
Thunder snow.
We always get the 65 followed by a big snowstorm.
Right. It's supposed to snow on Easter or something, isn't it?
Yeah, 5 to 12 inches.
Oh, awesome. Well, we'll go tubing. Whatever, So you're a skier too, speaking of snow, right?
I am a skier, yeah. I started skiing at a very young age. My grandfather was a huge skier, skied all over the world, as recreationally. And he got me skiing at 5 years old with a rope tied around my waist, and loved it ever since. Didn't get to go a lot early in my life because it would be my grandfather that would take me. My parents didn't have the means to do it, but he was definitely a huge influence. Yeah, and I love to ski.
Did you go out of the country with him ever? Or?
I never did, no.
Yeah. Did he go to like Switzerland and all those just epic spots like outside of Italy and all that?
Yep.
So beautiful, man. That was that was one of my favorite places to go when I was doing the rock and roll thing, was being over in Switzerland and just seeing the Swiss Alps. It's incredible. It's like the Tetons or something, you know? When you see that mountain range, you're like, holy crap, this is breathtaking. You can't fit it in a picture. You can't explain it to somebody as I'm trying to explain it right here.
Yeah. I've never been. I think I want to do UTMB, which is the Ultra Trail Mont Blanc, which is a 100-mile race that travels through 3 countries, and you more or less run around Mont Blanc.
Wow.
And that is ultra running done right. I mean, it is a party in every town you run through. The European culture and the trail culture, in France and Italy is huge.
Really? I've never heard of that. That's awesome. There's so many beautiful places to go there. Do they do any races in Norway that you know of? Because that's mountainous country there, too. I mean, it's incredible. That was another one of my spots that I loved, like exploring and just seeing, mountain ranges and that sort of, like some of those lakes and just the Viking culture and all that is so cool.
Yeah, I don't know if they do. I'm sure they do. There's so many races in the United States that I want to do or want to try to get into that I haven't done a lot of looking outside of the U.S. UTMB just kind of came on my radar. Some friends were talking about it, and my wife was there, and she thought it sounded like a great vacation. So I always thought it was a little out of my range, but it sounds like it could be now.
Kind of crazy. I don't want to leave the country right now. Pretty nuts out there. Italy got hit pretty hard.
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
New York's getting hit harder, though. It's crazy times. How often do you ski? And, the mountains are shut down now, so obviously you're not doing it now. Have you ever done any backcountry stuff, or are you pretty much like go to the resorts?
I more or less go to the resorts.
Uh-huh.
The backcountry stuff's interesting and very intriguing, but with limited time to get up. And a lot of times my son's going with me to go ski, so we'll stick to the resorts and try to make the most of our time.
I know that you mountain bike a lot, but I noticed the last time I was over at your house, we were hanging out in the garage, and I saw you had a fat bike. And it has like these super wide tires on it, and it's for riding in the snow, right?
Yeah, it's 4.8-inch wide tires. Makes you feel like being on a bike makes you feel like a kid again. I grew up in the 90s when mountain biking really started to get big, dreaming of, these professional riders and living in Colorado. And the fat bikes are cool because you get bonus rides. And you're not looking for performance out of them. You're riding with friends. You're just having fun. You're not looking at what your splits are or, did I set a course record here for myself or
Sure.
did I do
Just trying to stay on the bike, right?
That's a lot of the battle. But, they're a lot of fun. Those big wide tires. In powder, they don't do that well. I'd be interested to ride one with studded tires.
How about on ice? Nothing does well on ice. But
nothing does well on ice. Yeah, we always do a Christmas Day ride in the afternoon after presents are open and family time is spent. And this year I did a full 180 wall pedaling on my bike because I hit ice. I didn't fall though, so I was pretty stoked about that.
So like a 180, you're going down the mountain and like a full 180 spin around on like solid sheet ice.
Luckily we were climbing.
Okay.
And I was all of a sudden I was riding the other way.
Do you do any sort of like bike races, or have you done any hill climbs? Or I know that you've done Pikes Peak.
I rode Pikes Peak for fun. I was crewing a buddy that was running the marathon, and I thought it was better to ride my bike to the top. I had gotten out of biking and did it from time to time just because of all the running I was doing. And then in 2017, I did a Leadman attempt. And in Leadman, you've got 2 mountain bike races you've got to complete. And that really kind of got me back into riding. And I've got a lot of friends that ride. And again, it's just I love being out on trails with my buddies, and have started doing a lot more mountain biking ever since then.
Are you mostly a trail rider, or do you do downhill stuff too? Like, because I know some of the ski resorts in the summer, you can throw your bike on the chairlift, you ride it up to the top, and
I've never done it.
get to go down.
I've never done it. I'm
Yeah.
brave enough to toe the line for a 100-mile running race, but those downhill guys, man, that's a
It's a
special
whole
type
nother
of
level,
person.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother style of bike too, right? I mean, those things have different suspension setup and
Yeah,
all kinds of crazy stuff on them.
Yeah, you see some of the stuff up in the resorts in the summertime, and yeah, it's amazing what, from the bikes that I wanted when I was 16 years old in the 90s to today. It's a night and day difference. I mean, bikes are just amazing.
What do you ride now?
I just got a new Yeti SB 130.
Oh, nice.
So awesome trail bike. It's pretty phenomenal. I've only had it for a couple weeks, but luckily we've had this nice spell, so I've been able to ride it quite a bit.
And what were you on before?
I had a Scott full suspension Scott Genius 950 that I had bought for Leadville. But the Yeti's the Yeti's just a phenomenal bike.
Jeremy back there is a bit of a bike guy. He used to be a pro BMXer or something, right, Jeremy?
No, but I did work in a bike shop in the 90s, and that was when suspension was kind of just coming into its it was in its infancy. Goofball stuff that they were experimenting with was in the 90s, and it was just it was a cool time to be into bikes.
I think I saw a picture of the old Trek Y bike up there. Their carbon frame.
My first mountain bike with suspension sucked dick.
No, this is the best one. Hang on.
Dude.
This is the
Yes,
best.
yeah.
That old Klein is iconic. There's nothing cooler than that. But the Trek Y bike, that guy there. Yeah, but they also did one with a. They experimented with like aircraft cable on some of them, and it was and then bushings, and now you've got all the travel in the world on some of the downhill stuff. But
Well, a mountain
This
bike
90s
used
guy.
to cost, I don't know what, $300 was like a badass mountain bike when I was a kid.
I remember
And now, you can spend probably 15 grand if you wanted to, right? Or more.
a buddy of mine in high school, his parents bought him a Gary Fisher Pro Caliber, and it was like $1,800. And I thought that was just the craziest bike ever. Like, why would your parents spend that much money? And now that's a entry level bike at this point.
Right. The Yeti bikes are a carbon frame, right?
Yeah, Yetis are all carbon.
All carbon.
Yeah, they started here in Colorado in the 80s, I think. And yeah, I always loved them. And when I went to Fort Lewis, a bunch of guys around me were on the mountain bike team, and they were all here from Colorado, and they all rode Yetis. And ever since then, I've dreamt about having one. And yeah, I waited a long time, but it didn't disappoint.
So when'd you get it?
I want to say I got it 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
So yeah, I still haven't wrecked it, so there's no
So you're still
scratches
breaking
on
it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still nervous about that first wreck when I get the first scratch on it.
My son wiped out on his today because that's what we've been doing for the breaks, while we're in lockdown is normally I'll go out and I'll run behind him while the kids ride. And so now they're getting to get more confident on their bikes, because we've been doing this every day, which is awesome. It's good for me. It's good for them. But he was hauling ass down this hill and went to go hit a corner and just totally slid out. And he got the whole palms and everything, were just full of rocks. So I spent the afternoon picking rocks out of his hand and putting Neosporin on him and all that good stuff. It reminded me of wiping out when I was a kid.
I've been a little nervous with everything that's going on, and the kids out, or even us out riding or running. Something happens, ER is the last place I want to go.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we've been erring on the side of caution with that too. Like normally we're pretty like, go for it. You want to jump off the couch, with the 2-year-old or whatever. But now it's like, man, the last thing I want to do is go to the hospital. So get your ass off the couch. You know?
Yeah, we've had a couple of cracked helmets on kids and trips to the ER, and you know, the whole thing. I don't want
remember
to do
your
that
son.
right now.
He got a concussion or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he split a helmet
Oh,
and had
man.
a concussion, and it was
How scary was that?
It was pretty scary.
Yeah. How deep were you guys when that happened?
Luckily, it just happened in the neighborhood. I picked him up and, you know, carried him.
So you still had
back up
cell
the
phone
hill.
reception.
Yeah, I was able to
Sort of
get to
thing.
the house and check him out. And
Do you carry any, you know, because you go pretty deep like I do. When we go camping, family, we go dispersed. We're not going to a campground. We're not going where there's cell service. We're trying to get away from that. Do you have any sort of SOS device, or do you use a Garmin or anything like that?
I do have a GPS SOS device that I carry. Yeah, I always err on the side of caution when it comes, or preparedness, I should say. Whether it be a family hike. If we go on a family hike, I have a first aid kit with me. I think anywhere I reach, I can grab a pocket knife, or I can grab a flashlight. You know, I bet I have 4 pocket knives in my truck and 3 flashlights. So yeah, you know, whether it be a family hike or whether it's a backcountry run, you know, I feel like you should have an emergency blanket. Emergency blanket's a $4 thing.
Yeah,
at
they're
Walmart.
super light. They don't weigh anything. It takes nothing to shove them in your backpack.
Yeah, I've got one in my riding pack. I've got one in my running pack. And if something happens, whether it be to you or a buddy, and even if it's something minor, if you start to go into shock, you need to maintain some of that body heat. You need to maintain that warmth. And those little emergency blankets, you look at them, you don't think they do anything, but that could save your
They'll
life.
save your life, yeah, for sure. We had Jason Marsteiner on the last show, and we got into a little bit talking about, and I wanted to go more into depth on it, but on first aid kits, your standard first aid kit that they sell you off the shelf, you can forget about it. If you have more than a scrape or a bruise, they're not going to do shit. You know, the 5,000 piece first aid kit is, you know, 99% of that is Band-Aids.
Right.
And, you know, there's not one bigger than to put on your finger, really. I mean, there might be a couple pieces of gauze in there. But he's got some really good information on his site on what to carry as far as tourniquets. And he also offers like a first responders class, I think is what they call it. Excuse me. It's a 5-day class where they teach you like the basics of first aid. Like, I think they teach you how to tracheotomy somebody, how to depress their tongue, and that sort of situation if they're going into any sort of seizures or anything like that. And I wanted to hit on that a little bit more with him, but it was crazy. The conversation just rolled on and we kind of ran out of time. But he has some really good information if anybody's interested in checking it out. It's Colorado Mountain Man, or what is it, Jeremy? Can you look it up? Just so I don't screw it up.
Yeah, it's Colorado Mountain Man Survival. But
That's right.
I'm trying to find his emergency link.
And I think those little SOS devices are great. I have one. You know, it's super tiny. It links to your cell phone. So obviously you got to have your cell phone charged to text anybody. But it does have an SOS button on the side of it. And I was shocked. The first time I took it out, we were in cell phone range. We went to a campground. Like I just said, we never do. But I was with the family. We wanted the lakefront camping so we could paddleboard and do all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I was like, all right, I'm going to test this thing and see how long the battery lasts. And it lasted 5 days with no charge. So that's pretty good. I mean, I wasn't on it a whole bunch, but 5 days to press the SOS button, you know what I mean? Like that's a pretty good stint of time for a little tiny device, you know?
Yeah, they're small. You don't know you're even carrying it. And you've got help there.
Why not have it?
Yeah.
And they're not that expensive. I think I paid like $300 or something.
Yeah, there's a monthly fee that goes with it,
Right,
as
yeah.
well.
But you can turn it on and off. They give you a ton of options. It's not like, because I don't use mine in the winter. I'm not, you know, with the super young kids, we're not doing any crazy skiing right now, or we would never go backcountry skiing. You know what I
Right.
mean? So really, I only have it on 3 or 4 months out of the year.
Yeah, and just to have it there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't look at search and rescue insurance either.
Oh, yeah, and they actually offer it when you buy the Garmin. You can get it for an additional X amount of dollars, like $24 or something. What a good thing to have. I mean, because I don't know what it costs, but I know it's super expensive to start. Like a life flight helicopter is like incredible. I think at one point I heard it was $10,000 just to start the helicopter, and then they factor in flight time and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I may be wrong on that. I don't know for sure, but
I've always thought it was 10 grand, and my wife's gonna be really mad if I spend 10 grand to get my butt out of someplace. So
yeah, that
average 12,000 to 25,000. That's a big
Jesus.
range, but yeah, I think that's to get the props rolling is at least 10.
God, my nephew, we were in where were we? Somewhere down along the Hogback, and we went on a hike with the family. Like, grandma was there. There's all of my cousins, all of their kids, and they all have kids my kids' age. And we start up the trail, and we're on the trail. It was Waterton Canyon. We're started up the trail, and we get maybe, I don't know, a mile and a half up there. And it's not a trail. It's a closed road. I don't know if you've ever been up there, but it's a full-on road. Like, you could drive a dump truck up there. And we actually stopped, and they had one of those big six-wheeled dump trucks there that we took a photo next to. And, I had told them it was fall, and I said, we need to watch for snakes as we're going up this because there's rattlesnakes here. So you guys need to be careful. So we didn't let the kids, go off into the deep grass or anywhere. And I'm thinking, we're going to see one. So we stopped at one of the public restrooms that's there, or public outhouse. And the kids were just throwing rocks. And one of my nephews picked up a rattlesnake. And I shit you not, this thing was maybe 4 inches long, if that. And it bit him 3 times in the thumb. And we didn't have cell phone reception. And I didn't have an SOS device with me or anything. And I freaked out because I had never had to deal with that. So I just said, dial 911 if you can. Try to get cell phone reception. I'm going to get him to the parking lot. So I took off. And I don't run very often, but you would have thought I was freaking Carl Lewis with this kid over my shoulder. So I made it to the parking lot. And luckily my sister somehow got cell phone reception because she had Verizon and I had AT&T or whatever it was, And so the fire department was actually pulling in just as I ran into the parking lot. And the first thing they asked me, they said, "We're going to call a helicopter. Are you okay with that?" And I said, "Absolutely. Whatever you got to do, And they had a helicopter there within probably 3 minutes.
Wow.
It was incredible. They put him in the back of the ambulance, and it felt like forever. And he was actually doing okay. His vitals were okay. And but they life flighted him to Children's Hospital. When he got there, the doctor was like, he couldn't get bit in a better place. Getting bit in the hand.
Really?
Because the venom wants to travel to your heart to stop your heart, basically. So the furthest extremity that you can get bit on, the less chance you have of it actually, or the more time you have before it actually really starts affecting you.
Well, aren't the little ones the dangerous ones because they can't control their venom release?
Well, it was funny because when we were there, the doctor said that that's kind of a myth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He said, if you get bit by a big, Western diamondback rattlesnake, you really are in some deep shit,
trouble.
Right? Because they have a ton of venom. Their venom is a lot more potent. I guess the rattlesnakes that we have in Colorado are pygmy rattlers. So they don't pack as big a punch as those big Western diamondback snakes.
I'm still afraid of them. I don't like
them.
snakes.
Yeah. I don't like spiders even. I mean, spiders are the worst to me, but especially poisonous ones.
So this says that 70% of life flight is covered by insurance, but if you're not covered, out of network in Montana, $56,000.
Jesus.
Wow.
Just get the insurance. It's not that much.
Yeah.
It's $200 a year or something.
Isn't part of your fishing license here in Colorado?
I think
it includes
is.
a basic.
Can you look that up, Jeremy? I think if a hunting or a fishing license, if you purchase it from the state, it includes a certain amount of rescue. I think it's only $50,000 or something like that. But still, I mean, that helps. I mean, that's a big help. Yeah, I mean, just think about all the expense that goes in if you got to call an Alpine Rescue or something like that to get rescued.
Well, I think their minimum crew size is 8 people.
Well, yeah.
That's a big thing that they're talking about now with the pandemic going on is stay out of the backcountry because we need 8 people to come and help you if you have a problem.
Yeah, that's a serious problem, man. We don't need a bunch of people out running around getting hurt. The first responders are dealing with enough, and the hospitals are dealing with enough. I saw something today that, or it might have been yesterday actually, that I think Clear Creek County's talking about basically you could get a $5,000 fine if you don't live in the area and you're using one of the trailheads or a mountain park or something like that. They didn't say they were going to start enforcing it. They were going to politely tell people, but they said if they didn't get the point that they were going to start enforcing it. And I'm pretty sure Gunnison just passed that. Like you can pass through, you can fill up your car with gas if that's what you got to do. You can use the restroom, but after that you need to get the fuck out of there, because I don't know if you noticed it, even up here, like last Sunday we were trying to record a podcast and you would have thought we were at freaking Sturgis, man. I don't know if you heard any of it in the background, but it was just like bikes going by and, I don't know if you've been to Maxwell Falls or any of those other spots that are kind of up around our area. It's just like cars lined up for freaking miles.
It looks like a normal weekend. And the number of out-of-state plates, it's staggering. I understand it. I get it. And if I didn't live here in town, I'd want to come up to on the
believe
weekend.
Me, if I lived in New York City, I'd be getting the fuck out of there.
Oh, could you imagine how bad this would be if you lived in a city? I mean, we're regardless of what you're dealing with, we're blessed with where we are. But I understand it. You can only get off the trails so much,
right?
To get around somebody else. I've heard jokes that the single track's all going to be double track here because of COVID, because everybody's going off trail to stay away from each other.
Yeah, it's so weird, too, not to shake somebody's hand. Like, you walking in the door, like, my first reaction is, I don't know, that's just what I do.
It's what we were brought up to do.
Yeah, you shake somebody's hand, you look them in the eye, you talk to them properly, and that's what you do. And you can't do it now, Like, I think somebody was saying, or that Dr. Fauci from Trump's cabinet there was saying the other day, he said on the news that you might not ever be able to shake hands again. I was like, fucking kidding me? That's insane.
It will be interesting to see what the long-standing effects are. I even notice myself now, like I'll watch something on TV and it's a movie from 10 years ago and I'm like, boy, it's a lot of people in one place. Should that many people be around each other?
We normally don't watch too much TV at home, but we have been lately just because you're home, right?
Nothing else to do.
Freaking bored.
You only go on so many hikes with the family and bike rides.
Which has been awesome. Don't get me wrong. That has been... Out of all the bullshit that's happened in this thing, that has been incredible. Like, we're doing all the stuff that I want to do on a regular basis, like go fishing, go hiking, especially before they even did the stay-at-home order. We were just, all right, cool, let's just go to the creek, let's go play in the water. The weather got nice, So that has been an absolute blessing, and spending time with the family, the amount of board games that we've played. The kids are on the screen all day doing homeschool, but by the time they're done with that, they don't want to watch TV. They want to craft or build something or make something or go outside, throw the football. That's really been awesome. But just the whole tune of everything has just changed so much. Like even the commercials on TV. Like, we normally don't watch a normal TV show program. A lot of it's on demand,
right,
where we can fast forward. But we did the other night, and all the commercials got serious. They're not funny anymore.
Yeah, no.
They're like, I think it was a laundry detergent commercial or something where they used to have like this old lady like doing the dance, and like it was super funny and just stupid. It was a ridiculous commercial. And then we saw a commercial for the same product, which this is 2 weeks or like shit, I guess we're a month in now. And the whole tone has changed. It's like, if you want your laundry to smell fresh, it was so serious and just like tailored towards the mom doing laundry.
Right, right. I want to kill all the germs.
Yeah, 100%.
But I do think we'll look back at this and realize that again, it was a horrible time. It's a horrible time for a lot of people, and And
I think
feel very
economically
blessed.
too is one of the biggest impacts. You know, like I know so many people that have lost their jobs. I know so many people that are out of
Yes.
work.
Yeah, the family time is, and it breaks it down to what's really important in life. And relishing the time you had with your family and playing the board games and going on the bike rides and
Yeah. I think it opens everybody's eyes to like, hey, you know, we're not so invincible, you know, that your freedom can get taken away from you pretty fast because it almost feels like you don't have your full freedom. We used to be able to just go anywhere,
Right.
and you can't do that now, you know. You get scoffed if you go into the store twice a day, you know.
yeah, especially if you don't have a mask on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all changed too. It's pretty crazy. I've seen some of the I use that cryptic camo when I hunt, and I really like their stuff just because it looks cool and it's comfortable, and they make fat guy size. And I just noticed the other day they sent out a mass email and they're making masks now. I'm like, oh shit, man, what is
Everybody's
the
making
world
masks,
coming
yeah.
to? You know, so crazy times. What have you been doing anything different on your training regiments because of that? Like, are you lifting more at home, or are you? I mean, obviously you can't go to a gym. I don't know if you did before, and I've been to your house. I know you got a badass gym.
Yeah, I've got a gym in the basement, and I've got trails out my back door. So my training really hasn't been actually my training has been affected, but to a positive because I'm working from home and I don't have
Right.
2+ hours of commuting every day. So I'm getting a lot more running in, a lot more biking. Still doing a lot of strength training. I'm a big believer in strength training, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or whether you're a mountain athlete. The more muscle that we can carry and the stronger that we are, the better off we'll be. So yeah, I've increased my training load with this going on.
How do you balance that with you running 100-mile marathons? You don't want to be looking like Arnold running them, you know, with 21-inch pythons or something, right? I mean, because that's more weight that you're carrying essentially. Do you think about that at all, or do you just you do high reps? What do you do to?
You've always looked at runners, and runners are these little skinny guys, and I mean I don't carry a ton of muscle. There's a big difference.
Well, big muscle to me doesn't mean strong.
Well, there's different ways to train, right?
Yeah.
You train to get strong. You train to get big muscles. So I vary my rep range. I do a lot of body weight exercises. If I have dumbbells, I'm standing on top of a Bozu ball or doing something like that for, adding some stability. But a lot of it's body weight exercises, TRX. I really like the TRX
Yeah, those
training
things are
bands.
awesome.
That way you're stabilizing your core, and it's really emulating everyday life, right? Every day you should stabilize your core, whether it's getting groceries out of the back of the car or whether you're trying to lift a rock doing landscaping work. That core needs to be good and strong and stable.
Do you do any sort of yoga or anything
I
like
don't.
that, or stretching? Or?
I'm the least flexible person in the world, and I should. I stay relatively healthy, and I do almost no stretching. I foam roll. I have an inversion table.
And what does the inversion table do for you?
It helps my back. I struggle with my back for a couple of years after an injury, and it just kind of lengthens everything out and keeps some of the compression away.
Decompression, I guess,
Yeah.
huh? Yeah, I guess some of the stretching that I do is to decompress my back. And, man, if I don't do it for a week, I notice it. I'm like, oh, shit, man, this is crazy. It's crazy what just like laying on a flat floor for 5 minutes. Sometimes your back will adjust itself.
Yep.
It's insane. And then there's I've been doing a little bit of that DDP yoga, which is cool. I call it yoga for fat guys. But, man, that Diamond Dallas Page has got it down. I mean, he's got some classes in there that are like, if you're in a hospital bed, he's got a class for you.
You can do it.
And then he's got some that you can't even think about, even if you're advanced. Like my wife is super flexible, prima ballerina, and she did one of the super advanced classes, and she's like, I can't handle this.
Wow.
This is crazy. So the dude's got it going on. I mean, and he actually had all I got turned on to is he had this Army vet on that was walking with crutches. It was like the crutches that attach to your forearms.
Mm-hmm.
And he had something wrong with his legs, and he had lost so much weight. I mean, this guy went through it. He's like able to walk now, like normally, like a normal person. And before he had to use these crutches to go anywhere, to even get up and go to the bathroom, you know?
I've heard good things about it. I've never tried it.
It's pretty cool. It's inexpensive, and he's got a good program. And man, just the stuff that I've learned from it has helped me out tremendously. Like I used to have a lot of shoulder problems with one shoulder from an old motorcycle accident, and that's all straightened out now. I just do these certain things. I try to do it at least 2 or 3 times a week, and it helps a lot.
I think it's the consistency of it.
Yeah. Having some sort of regimen.
Yeah, that's what I found with my back. Every morning and then every night after the family goes to sleep, I do it for 3 or 4 minutes, just rolling on my back and a little bit of stretching, and my back feels great every day.
Yeah, I'd be curious to try an inversion table. I don't know if they make one the capacity for me, but
I think mine would handle
yeah.
it. Yeah.
What kind of inversion table do you
I
have?
got one of the teeters. I used to go to the chiropractor twice a month, and my back hurt every day, and it's gone.
I don't know about chiropractors, man. I haven't had good luck. I mean, I feel like I don't know. Maybe it works for some people, but I feel like it's a gimmick because they're like, oh, yeah, if you come to me 75 times,
I can fix you, yeah.
It's maybe not that much, but it's always like 20 times for 20 weeks. And
I was afraid for a long time. I had a friend that had a bad situation with one, and I just got to the point after I injured it 4 years ago that I had tried acupuncture. I had tried, massage and couldn't get any relief, and ended up going, and it did. It took 10 or 12 times, which is what he told me it would take. And
right, but it's almost like you got to keep going. Like the people that I know are like, oh, shit, I got to go to the chiropractor again. Oh, shit, I got to go to the chiropractor again, you know? I'm not really sure, but what do you do, Jeremy? You had any back injuries or anything like that? You do anything to keep your back in shape?
I've dodged every bullet physically that at 42 I'm afraid to go outside.
Yeah.
Broken arm at 17. All my ligaments intact. I'm good. Sitting
That's
in
good.
an office. Scared to death.
Takes a long time to recover the older you get.
It does.
Oh, man.
I took my kids sledding
Insane.
and had my daughter on my lap and hit a rock and hit my tailbone. And it knocked me out of commission for 2 months. I couldn't sleep right. I don't know if I broke something or if I just bruised it, but
Tailbone sucks.
that is the lamest injury ever. You can't show anybody a wound. You can't. You can't. All that you can do is complain and not sleep.
Yeah.
And tell your kids that you can't carry.
You got to sit on that
It's
little
the worst.
fucking donut thing that the
I
doctor gives you.
I didn't do that.
Did they give you the donut?
I didn't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
What am I gonna say?
I broke mine.
You ever had to buy a donut walking in to Walgreens to
It's
buy
like buying tampons.
Oh.
Yeah.
I swear I broke something.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Tailbone sucks. Ribs suck too. I don't know if you've ever cracked a rib, but you can't laugh, sneeze, cry.
It's
There's
along the
no
same
emotion.
lines. There's no.
Just
there's
fucking
no wound.
straight edge.
There's no wound. There's no cast. There's no anything. It's just trust me, I'm hurting.
Right.
I hurt my ribs twice last year.
Really.
Just the worst thing to get over.
How'd you do that?
First one was in jiu-jitsu, and the second was mountain bike fall.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu always gets me. And it's funny because I don't know I'm injured until it's like the next day.
Well,
I'm like, oh, shit, my fucking elbow is jacked, you know? And then it takes a long time to recover because I'm not as young as I was. I started super late.
yeah, me too. And it's either that or the bruising. You're always bruised.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you don't even think about it. You're just trying to not get choked or
Right.
something from other grown men. But we get after it pretty good.
Yeah, it's that's probably one of the biggest things with the whole quarantine stay at home.
Oh,
is-
man, I'm missing it so much because that was like my workout regimen, you know?
Yeah.
And like you don't realize how many calories you burn when you're fighting. You're not fighting for your life, but it feels like it. You know,
Right.
You're trying not to get choked, trying not to break an extremity, you know, or have somebody put you in a bad situation. So you don't really think about it. You just go into fight mode or a flight mode, you know, one of the two, trying to get out of something or whatever. And it's just, by the end of it, I don't know about you, you're pretty in shape, but by the end of it, I'm gassed.
Oh, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
And, you know, if you do 3 5-minute rounds, you're toast.
Yeah.
And then what I really like doing is going, they started doing some open mats, and we'll roll for like an hour. You know, like the first 3 rolls, you're rolling pretty hard. And then normally, like, you get an hour in and everybody's like lounging around like, yeah, should we go to the bar and have a beer? And I miss that, man. That's the one thing that I'm really missing right now.
Last fall, we did an hour and a half open mat. I think for like that first hour, we all rolled pretty hard. And after that, we all just kind of sat there and talked to each other. And I think that's what I miss most is the camaraderie. We've got a text
Great
string.
group of guys, man. What a great, you know, I didn't know what to think walking into it, but the place where I go, everybody just checks their ego at the door. It's not about that. It's about keeping everybody healthy. And, yeah, I mean, you talk to guys and they're like, okay, let's just go 50% or whatever, which never happens because 30 seconds in, you're going 100%.
Right.
It just escalates.
You started at 50 before you slapped and bumped.
Yeah. But, man, it's just awesome. It's a good group of guys. And it's crazy how much they'll do anything for you, you know? Well, you spend all day hugging them. I wonder how that's all going to change now.
I've thought about that.
God damn it.
If it'll change or if it'll just it is what it is.
Yeah, because I was going like 3 times a week. I mean, I tried to go 3 times a week. I enrolled in my first tournament so I would actually train harder.
Right.
Not happening.
Yeah, I was trying
Canceled.
to make it to 5 hours a week, and
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see when we get to go back.
What belt are you?
I'm a white belt.
Me too.
I know nothing.
But I kind of like that.
Absolutely nothing. Well, yeah,
I kinda
because
like that, 'cause,
there's
like,
nothing expected of you.
Yeah. Our professor, he doesn't hand out stripes or belts like some of these places I've been, because I travel a little bit, so I've done some drop-in classes, and you can kind of tell. It's crazy. Like, if you go to a different school, I think it's really good because you can tell just what the teachers do and what they expect and how easily they give it up, basically, you know. Because I'll go into some places and I'll be rolling with a purple belt, and they're rolling like a white belt does at my jiu-jitsu studio, you know. And then I'll go into other places, and I'm like, God damn, these white belts
guys
are
are
like
tough.
the purple belts at the last place, you know. It's pretty insane how much that changes, and you know, the thing that I really like about the place that I go is it's not about give me money. It's about come in and train, and if you do a good job and you know the shit that you know, then you'll rank up.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's how it should be.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing it that long, but it's fun.
I'm so bad they threaten to take stripes away from me. So
Yeah, and it's crazy too. I mean, there's so many moves and like what you have to think about. Like, because I wrestled in high school and stuff and middle school, and it's just so different. Like, you know, in wrestling, you're never supposed to be on your back, but jiu-jitsu, you're trying to, you know, back is a great position. Being on your back on the mat is a great position. There's so many different things that you can do, and there's so many different variations and moves, and it's just like a rabbit hole, you know. You go down it, you can keep learning and learning and learning.
And I think that's what's cool is you'll never stop learning at it.
Yeah.
You know, the mental game of it is.
It's I'm no seasoned vet, but man, it's cool. I'm really missing that right now. That's a big part of my week that just isn't happening right now.
Well, it's such a great workout.
Yeah.
You just walk out of there and you, like you said, you're spent.
Even when you're drilling, you know, like, even though it's kind of like a few minutes on or off, but just the moves and what you're doing, and it just helps all different aspects, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm missing that. I can't wait to get back to that. I hope it goes back to that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We got to stay positive.
Yeah, I think it will. I don't see how it couldn't. You do a lot of stand-up paddleboard too?
Yeah, a little bit with the family. It's fun. You know, we have so many beautiful lakes, and I love the summer.
Yeah.
You know, getting up in the mountains and just these gorgeous lakes and paddling around, and the water's clear, and it's just relaxing. I'd like to be good enough to be able to fly fish off of it.
that's what I started last year, and it was super awesome. I got a little cooler that I strap on the back of there so I could throw fish and beer in there. And then I even one-upped it on the side of it. I put this little attachment that goes, I think it's supposed to go on the side of a boat, but it holds my fly rod while I'm paddling. And then on the other side, I have I bought these little clips that you can just slam the paddle into. So you can either have your fly rod in your hand or you can have the paddle in your hand, which you need to get around. But man, it's been so awesome. I can't wait to get out and do some of that too. I almost canceled today and was going to go fishing.
I'd have gone with you.
Yeah, I know. I was going to call you. I was like, hey, would you rather go fishing than do the podcast? Yeah, we'll just do it later when it's snowing. But I was like, we should probably get this second one out of the bag. We've gone a couple times in the last couple of weeks, but it was still, the fish are still kind of coming out of that freeze, and I really like catching them on dry flies.
I was just going to say, nymphing doesn't
I'm just not good enough at it, because like you got to change the depth and where your weight's at pretty much constantly, because maybe it's only 6 inches deep in certain parts of that river, and then you'll come to a hole that's 30 feet deep.
Right.
And it's barely flowing, But, yeah, that's a good time.
Well, it's exciting, spotting fish and trying to cast to them, and that's why I like dry fly fishing. It's no different than when I grew up and was, bass fishing. I loved to topwater fish and, casting into structure, and it's the same thing with dry flies.
I've never really got into bass fishing. I guess just growing up in Colorado, there wasn't much to do other than trout fish,
It doesn't compare to trout fishing.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, there's just something about...
I've went a couple times, but I just haven't had that good a time. And I actually have a friend of mine that grew up here in Morrison, Colorado, and he lives in L.A. now. But he goes out, like in San Francisco area, he fly fishes for bass. And they use like these steel leaders and like big, heavy line, I think it's like a 9-weight or something like that. I'd love to get up to Alaska or something and do some like salmon.
That'd be awesome.
Pike or something like that would be rad. That'd be a good time. I was actually looking into doing a bison hunt. Is one of the things on my checklist with my bow, but I want to hunt wild bison. It was like, I was looking in Wyoming, it was like $4,000 or something for an out-of-state tag. I was like, holy shit, I can't justify that,
Just for the tag.
A lot of money.
Just for the tag, just for an opportunity.
You might not shoot one.
Right.
You know what I mean? You hunting is not easy. It's not like going to the grocery store and buying it off the shelf, So we're kind of running a little bit short on time here. But I've really enjoyed having you, and thanks for coming on and letting us know what to do and how to run a 100-mile race if we ever wanted to.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This was fun. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Jeremy, we good?
You there?